All right. All right. And we're live. Okay, cool. Hey, welcome back to episode number 7 of No One Asked. We got a special one here. We got our boy Trevor in the house. And we're going to take a deep dive into these guys' really rigorous journey with Best Sapper and Best Ranger. Sorry for looking goth here. I feel like I don't know. It looks like I got like
giving
makeup
Blink
on or
182
something.
vibes.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. We'll
Yeah.
rock it. And more important news than Best Ranger and Best Sapper, my soccer team, my rec league, lost today. It was really heartbroken. Almost canceled the pod over it, but you know we're here. We get better. We do hard things.
No one cares.
Yeah, no one cares. No one asks. I get it.
Yeah.
But
Hey, before we start, just wanted to give a quick shout out to all the moms out there. Sunday's Mother's Day, so just wanted to say that.
Works delivery.
What? It's Mother's Day.
I thought that was taking a totally different direction.
Happy Mother's Day.
Shout out to the moms is right. Love and appreciate all you guys do. Sorry for making that one. Anyways, good call out there, Zach. Though I do.
You're welcome.
That's good. Well, duly noted. Because this is probably going to take me like 2 days to dive into. But how the pod's gonna probably flow, and for at least the first question, and then we'll see where it goes from there. It's gonna be just a kind of Q&A to open up some conversation and building off that. What I want to know from you guys is pretty much why didn't you win? You know, because we got a bunch of losers here in the chat. Both people dropped, but you know, I just want to hear the excuse train to go first.
Before Trevor takes the lead on that one, I just wanted an explanation on why you didn't participate. I was just curious of what the reasoning there was.
Excuse me, I'm on the front lines of recruiting efforts right now.
Oh,
so
that's right. I forgot
I'm
about
giving
that.
you your next private, okay? And you're
Okay, yeah. I had forgotten.
I'm doing really important stuff over here. Come on.
Yeah, rec soccer. All right, Trevor.
Hey, rec soccer is important. No, seriously though, talk about some of the challenges you guys faced, and literally what ultimately led to the demise of your teams or whatever.
Yeah. So I think for Best Ranger, there's like, you really just have to have a good day. Bottom line, like you could be the fittest team out there, and you could just not have a good day and be in the back of the pack. It's just how it goes. Nobody really knows how everything's weighted. Obviously, it's like insanely endurance based, so you have to have that base too. But there were a few big things and a few small things. Big thing was, I think we were physically ready for it, but my partner broke his foot a couple months ago, and his foot just like didn't really hold up, which not his fault.
Let me ask,
is what it is.
Yeah, let me ask, like, what was your train up then consistent of that? Because I mean, I know I follow you obviously, but for the viewers that don't know, I saw your runs in Strava or whatever, and you're running up literally Colorado mountains for training, you know?
Yeah.
So like, what was your build up and train up for that?
So for one, super fortunate to be out here for the train up at elevation. But the train up itself, we had a few competitions to see who actually makes the team, and then the dedicated training started about 4 months out. So January, I think 2nd is when it really started. And our plan was from a previous winter in 2021, I believe. So also super fortunate to have that. It was really just building that zone 2. That's really all it was. And then towards the end, we transitioned to more speed work to try to get our speed up to see the returns from that a lot faster. But yeah, pretty much just running zone 2 for majority, building up slow. Well, I want to say slowly. You should do like 10%, but we were doing like, we started out like 40 miles, peaked at like 100. Jeez. And then lifting 3 days a week too on top of that, 3 to 4. And the lifting wasn't like hypertrophy or like bodybuilding or anything like that. It was geared towards endurance also. So focusing on like slow eccentric, high rep, slow eccentric, a lot of like stability muscles that nobody even realizes. So like medicine ball work, things you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
Mm.
What
Yeah.
explain what zone 2 is to all 59 of my family members that watch this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a training, I want to say ideology, breaks it down into 5 zones. So zone 1 is like 50 to 60% of your max heart rate. Zone 2 is 60 to 70% of your max heart rate. Goes up to zone 5 is like max effort. So you base that, like we all have different zones. My zone 2 is like 125 to like 138 roughly. The idea with that is you're really trying to train your bodies to build the mitochondria needed to burn the fat. So in zone 2, you're burning fat as a fuel source, as opposed to zone 3.
Yeah.
Zone 4, you're using glucose. So you're trying to basically tell your body, like, hey, I need more mitochondria to burn more fat in this zone. And then when you build that mitochondria, you can basically use the fat source for way longer than you can glucose. I think you have like 200,000 calories of fat in your body versus like a couple thousand glucose. So it basically just allows you to exert effort for a lot longer. It's not like higher effort, but just endurance basically.
Right. In
Yeah,
these
I'll tell
competitions,
you.
it's not a sprint, it's a marathon of a competition.
Yeah.
So you want to try to be
100%.
in that zone too, right? Where you can go for longer, because it's not one day, it's 3 days.
Yeah, for sure. To give context to the readers, zone 2 is for somebody that starts out. I've attempted this, and like your runs, you might be able to run like a 6-minute mile, which is great, but you're pumping your heart rate up to dang near 200 beats per minute. And so when you try to tone that down, when you first start, I mean, you're talking like 10 to 12-minute miles if you're a rookie. And I'll tell you, right, I tried it out. It's a painful process because you feel like you can go so much faster. So like to have that, I guess, discipline of like not over pushing it and keep like sustaining a high level of heart rate over a longer period of time. I mean, the returns are given. You definitely can crank out and max out a lot better from doing zone 2 training, but it's not as easy as it sounds. It really isn't, because you got to be really strategic about how you kind of take that approach. And moving on to you, Zach, what kept you from getting that top dog there in Sapper?
Well, yeah, kind of a similar story to Trevor. Halfway through it was day 2 technically, but we were doing a 20-mile round robin ruck. So basically heavy pack, roughly like 50 pounds. And we were rucking 20 miles, and every 3 miles or so, there was a station. So you'd go 3 miles, do a station. Some of them were rappelling, medical lanes where you'd have to treat a casualty, shooting weapons, all kinds of things. And as we were progressing through this 20-mile round robin ruck, my partner started to just slow down and really started to hurt. And now a couple weeks later, we found out he had a dislocated bone in his foot and multiple hairline fractures in his foot mid-comp. So kind of similar to Trevor, just injury finding its way into a challenge that's extremely strenuous.
Right.
So yeah.
Did that happen during the comp though, or did that happen during the train up, or a little bit of combo from just overtraining?
It's kind of tough to tell. I think
Yeah.
it's an overtraining injury that really just became noticeable when he was in the midst of a strenuous challenge, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I guess let's back this up a little bit, because our viewers, like I said, they don't know what the hell we're talking about probably. And to give the context, if you guys didn't pick it up, Trevor went to Best Ranger competition. This is a competition, multiple days, 1,000,001 miles on your body, and you don't know what's coming. And same with Zach with Best Sapper. So 2 different military schools that you go through initially, Ranger and Sapper school. And then that's kind of the baseline requirement. I do believe you can technically compete without a tab.
That's
but
Sapper for sure.
Yeah, it's very one-offs, I would say, and you probably need one to really excel, because the whole competition is building off this super strenuous school that you graduate from, and now you're competing with other graduates to find out who the best of the best, right? So that's a little bit of context there. I feel like we kind of I admitted that in the beginning. Talk about how early did you guys get there? Because I remember talking to you guys, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm here for Best Ranger, Best Sapper," and it was like a week or two out, right?
Yeah, and with that too, like diet. I'm kind of interested like what your lead up and diet look like too, Trevor, because mine wasn't great.
Yeah, Sam. So we got there 2 weeks early from the start date. And the idea with that is you still maintain the altitude acclimation, but you get acclimated to the humidity and heat in Georgia. Fortunately, we had like beautiful weather, so that wasn't really an issue. And then you also use that week prior. So you have competitors week, which is the week before the competition, and that's where you get hands-on training for each of the events, because it's also a very heavy media, like high vis event for the Army, and they want you to look good. So you need to get like qualified. And then the week before that is a lot of like recon of the events if you can. They shut down the training areas like well beforehand, but just do what you can. As far as diet goes, not great.
Yeah.
Burning
I'm with
so
you.
many calories. Honestly, you're just trying to get the calories in. So I would tank a pint of Ben and Jerry's at least once or twice a week.
Dude, you have
But
to.
I mean, like, yeah, we were in such a caloric deficit for like all of it. Not like a huge one, but it was definitely high carb. That's just because of the endurance that we were doing.
Yeah.
And then as much protein as you could get. Like I really stick to 3 or 4 meals for dinner. It's like steak, vegetables, some starches, rice, fish, or like pasta and meat, and that's it. And just as much as you can get in. I lost like maybe 10 or 15 pounds during the train up.
Gosh.
Which is how it
But
goes.
it was all on your dime, right? You could go eat what you wanted, where you wanted.
Yeah. There was no like. We got some help from a nutritionist, kind of just telling us what's good and what's bad.
Did I lose you guys?
There
Or
wasn't
what?
like a.
I'm still in here. Do we lose
All
Trevor?
right, never mind.
There he is.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
But yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's kind of
Go
where
ahead, Zach.
that's kind of where like my experience, I guess, was different, because we checked in on Monday, like midday on Monday. Competition started Friday night. So Monday through Friday, we were in the barracks, the Sapper barracks, on post. And for like the first day, we could go out and get a meal with our coaches. But pretty much Tuesday to Friday, we were locked down. Only food you'd get was at the DFAC or Mermites, which
brutal.
is basically like to go
Wow.
DFAC food. And by DFAC food, I'm just talking about Army meals. So
Yeah,
not
they're
the best
terrible.
quality.
bad.
Proportions were small. Like I definitely felt hungry, and I was like, I need to be eating more with this training I've been doing and in preparation for this competition. So diet was something that, I kind of gave them as a recommendation, like, hey, next year, you're about to compete, to see who's the best. Let people worry about their diet on their own dime, and eat the food they want to eat.
Were you in the barracks? Did you guys stay in the barracks or a hotel?
Yeah, it was the barrack. Well, so it was the barracks for like 4 days leading up. We got down there like 2 weeks or 3 weeks early. So we were in hotels for 2 weeks and then barracks for a week.
Yeah.
What
we
about
were
you,
in
Trevor? Were you barracks?
No, we were in a hotel, which is honestly pretty nice. Got like a full suite to myself. And then like during competitors week, they have food that you can eat there, but it's DFAC food and like, chewy dry chicken. So
Yeah.
didn't eat that as much as we could. We just packed a lunch.
Yeah, I don't know too.
Yeah.
In the lead up, Trevor, it felt weird to me. Everyone was like kind of like sizing each other up. You're about to compete with these people around you, and everyone's like sizing each other up, kind of being weird, like doesn't want to share information or share things they know. Like it was a weird environment.
It was 100% like that. There was like we were close with the 10th group guys because they're also out of Fort Carson, so we would kind of give them some tips and back and forth. But yeah, we had to run it, not a run. There's a guy. It was his 3rd time competing. Absolute stud. I want to say he got 5th this year. I can't remember. He got like 3rd last year. And
Jeez.
I was sitting behind him during one of the trainings, and I overheard him talking about like how caffeine's not good during the week before. So I texted our coach like, "Hey, is caffeine bad right now?" And he's like, "No, you're fine." Somehow he knew that I was listening in on him. He texted my coach, and he's like, "Your boys suck at eavesdropping." And then we just started talking bad about each other back and forth through my coach because he knows that guy too.
That's
it was all like
hilarious.
in good. It was like I was serious about it. I was like, saying some stuff, but we talked to him after, and we were like, yeah, we're just talking shit about you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a stud though. He did great, good guy. But yeah,
Yeah,
you're
I
100%
guess-
sizing up the competition. You can see who's good. Like, who's going to be good, and who's going to be really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, how quickly do you know who's going to be like the top dog? Is it take one event, or do you know beforehand, or like how does that work?
I mean, for us, it was like 75th. They're always going to be good. There's no way around it. So there's that, and then there's repeat competitors. So if you do Best Ranger a second time, you have like a 70% chance of finishing the competition. So anybody that's a
Right.
return competitor, they're going to be good too. Then there's some teams that show up and they're like, yeah, I got told last week I was doing this, and I was like, good luck. It's gonna be rough. But,
Yeah. I've been running 50 miles a week for the last 4 months. Good luck, brother. Yeah.
But yeah, you can kind of just tell. And then when it kicks off, you don't really see the other competitors that much. So it's like,
Okay.
who knows? But, yeah.
Zach, is that a similar experience for you? Like, or did you have to wait until the events, or did you also not see the competitors that often?
Leading up to it, obviously you see them all the time, and then once it starts, it's kind of like in passing, but pretty similar. You could see there's a bunch of people that the team that had won last year was there, so automatically I'm like, all right, these dudes won last year. They know what to do, what it takes to win. Of course they're going to do
Right.
well. And there was a bunch of return competitors, so I knew they were going to do well. And then I obviously saw the teams that were not going to do well. It's pretty obvious. But the weird thing was there was the like outliers. People I kind of like judge in the beginning, like these guys aren't going to do well. And those are the ones, there's like a few teams that actually placed pretty well. So that was interesting to me.
That's a little sneaky. Those little dark horses.
Yeah. I mean, I thought I was going to do well and I didn't finish. So I was one of
All right. So how long is the overall event for Best Ranger?
So it's 3 days. But they make cuts every single, like at the end of every day. So we had 54, 55 teams start. They cut 8 teams after the first 3 events. At the end of day 1, there was 32 teams. I can't really remember. Can you guys see me? Our Wi-Fi is being weird.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm also on Kmart
yeah.
Wi-Fi. We're just gonna have to
Nice.
roll with it.
See what happens.
Yeah, I got you guys.
Yeah, and then at the end of day 2, they make another round of cuts, and only 18 teams finish, I believe. But yeah, 3 days. First day is really just like the heavy mileage.
Yeah.
Try to make it through. Day 2 is kind of like get to the top to secure a spot, and then day 3 is just like hold on, like try to finish.
Yeah.
So
What's
Yeah, pretty
Best
similar
Sapper
for
looking
us.
like?
Yeah, pretty similar. It's 4 or 3 days. So you got half a day on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then half a day Monday. And it's pretty much, Friday night, I think it was 2 hours of sleep. Saturday night was 4 hours of sleep. And then Sunday night was roughly 4 hours. I read around there. So
That's a great point to bring up. I remember, Zach, in our Sapper school, there was like 2 of the 8 days that we were in the field, or 10 days, I forget what it was, where we literally got 15 to 30 minutes of sleep. And I'll tell you what, when you're in that mode, like I really didn't feel affected by it. But is this a similar experience for you guys where you're just like game on, I'm good? Or did you like truly feel that when you're at that peak level of trying to perform?
yeah, I think when you're in these competitions, when you're at cyber school, I
Yeah.
really feel my adrenaline like run. Like I don't remember being that tired.
Right.
Because I slept for 2 hours the night before, but then it's like, what's the next event? People are cheering you on. You're rappelling off a cliff. Like I just felt like my adrenaline was carrying me through the whole thing.
Right. What about you, Trevor? How was your sleep regimen? Was it the same experience where you just barely got any? Did you feel it? Like, what was the kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, so I can't really speak to like the guys that finished because I didn't make it past day 1, obviously. But, kind of the same thing. It was like your adrenaline is just spiked the whole time, especially when you roll up to, for example, the ranges. You have like camera crews, family, you know, seats of competitors just watching you, or competitors' families, I should say. So like when you're going up there, you're like ready to go. Even in between, like you're hurting, but it wasn't awful. I'll say that. The ruck is
Yeah.
like you're deep in the pain cave because there's nobody around. It's dark. It's like just you and your partner. And I think that's pretty. I think that's
I
how it
like
goes
that.
for everybody.
The
But
pain cave. Did you hear that?
the pain cave. Yeah.
The pain cave. You gotta love the Army terms when they come up for this stuff. It kind of makes sense most of the time, where you're like, that I can tell why they call it this. That's unreal. I think that's something that people hear and they're like, wow, that's like really crazy. You only got 2 hours of sleep and you still compete. But like I said, like I vividly remember finishing a mission and then having to be up at like 30 minutes later, and it really, I don't know about you guys, like it just didn't really feel that big of a deal in that moment. Again, it's a little shorter though, and not as rigorous as these competitions, because this is, like I said, the best of the best that you're doing. But what I guess what's the worst event? Like, what was an event where you're just like, wow, this sucks? And like talk about like what you did to either overcome it, or were you just like, I just need to stop thinking?
So for us, there was the ruck. It was an unknown distance. I think we heard it was going to be like 23. I think it ended up being around 18. But the rucks were just disgusingly heavy. I thought there was like 70 to 80 pounds, but you already have like 40 miles on your legs. So if we put the ruck on, and me and my partner looked at each other and we were like, oh, yeah, I don't know about this.
It's gonna be a long ruck.
It was like, that was a rough one. But from what I've heard from other competitors, actually night land nav is the worst event. You don't know how far you're walking. You have your ruck on, same weight, and it's like through the Georgia woods. The rifle, like the rubber ducky that they give you, the rubber ducky is like a fake M4. It's like plastic, but I'm pretty sure they poured cement in the barrel. They're super heavy. If you talk to like Luke Ebeling, he won last year. He was like, that was by far the worst event. Like, it sounds awful because it's 5 to 6 hours. I'm underweight through Georgia woods. It's just not fun.
Yeah, let me cut in there. We got night land nav for those viewers listening that don't know anything about the Army. Land nav is when you get dropped in the woods with a compass and a map, and they give you a bunch of points that you have to find, like grid coordinates, and you got to just find them. And the challenge there is the terrain, like looking at the map, managing the terrain. And sometimes, especially when you're a dumb lieutenant like us, you get lost, and you try to make the most direct path, right? The shortest distance isn't always from point A to point B, because sometimes there's a mountain in the way, and that can wear you out.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, those land nav courses are sneaky. The distance you put on, I remember we were doing a train up in Bullock for Best Sapper, and we did our 12-mile ruck and then land nav. And I actually put more miles on my body during land nav than I did the actual ruck. So it's a sneaky one. And the event, he said, if you pay attention, it's night land nav. So you're doing it in the dark. And these markers that you have to find, I don't know, the courses have started to change where they have a little bit of reflectors, but I mean, you can't use your light. Most times, I don't know if the competition was different, but most training settings, you have zero light on you. Some people get away with it, obviously, but I feel like the competitions were a little bit heavier guarded,
Yeah. I don't think you wouldn't want to get caught. The whole competition, right? They catch you doing something immoral, they're going to drop you immediately.
Right.
So
what about you, Zach? What was your worst event there? And like, what got you through it, if it did or didn't?
Yeah, I'm between two, but probably the worst was first event, Friday, 5 p.m. We go out and we do this like hour-long fitness test. So we had to carry like a 40-pound or 50-pound piece of metal, cratering can. And we did all kinds of squats, lunges, deadlifts, all different kinds of things for an hour. And then we finished that with a 3-mile run. And that was like our first event, our first fitness test. And then once we finished that, it's the sun's starting to set. It's getting later in the day. We're at a local park in St. Robert. So we're not actually on the base. We're at a park and there's people around you. And it just kind of feels like a good environment. So when we finished that, sun's setting, and we're just like, well, I guess they're going to take us back to the barracks and we'll do whatever the next event is tomorrow. And you load on the bus. And as we were on this bus ride back to the base, that's at least the direction we were going, they told us to bring our Camelback, like our, water backpack, with our headlamp hitched to like the handle. So we're on this bus on the way back, and some of the guys start looking around. We're all like, I don't think
We're
going
in
back to
for
the
it.
barracks.
We're in for it.
Yeah,
That's
I don't think we're
hilarious.
going back to the barracks. I don't know what we're doing, but we're not going to sleep, guys. And they come up like the west gate of Fort Leonard Wood and drop us at a bridge. They like kind of park at the bridge, and as soon as the bus stops, I'm just like, oh man, I am in for it. And bus stops, they like walk us out to like this riverbed, middle of nowhere. It's like pitch black now, and they just like start briefing us. They're like, all right, you're gonna run on the route. It's marked with lights, chem lights, and once you get to the end of the route, you're gonna get a map and a score sheet, and then you're gonna do land nav. We're not gonna tell you how long the run is, but you'll be doing land nav till 2 a.m. Meanwhile, it's like 7 p.m. So we're all like, what the? So anyway, unknown distance run. Roughly, it's probably like 5-6 miles. Once we got to the end of it, we got our map, our score sheet, and we went out on the land nav course doing night land nav till like 2 a.m. So yeah, that was.
Dude, that's tough.
I think that was the worst too, because I was still fairly fresh, but it was just that gut punch of this is the competition. Like this is what you need to expect to the rest of it.
Can you guys use the roads on Nightland now too?
We could.
Okay. Yeah, so we were not allowed to. Again, I didn't do it, but you also have a GPS tracker on you the whole time.
Caveat, I got dropped.
We had the trackers too, and they give us this tracker, and I'm like, oh, it's an army tracker, army equipment. Like, there's no way this thing works.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, at some point in land nav, we walk up to this water point. So basically just like a water can on the side of the road if you needed to fill up on water. And I'm walking up to it, and there's a medic there. And before he can even see me and my roster number on my shoulder, he's like, Team 4? And I was like, how do you know that? He's like, oh, I'm tracking you. It's like a legit tracker. Like, he knows where I am at any point.
That's insane.
Oh, yeah.
That's good news. That's designed for safety. And I vividly, again, I'll bring up another Sapper school story. We lost one of those trackers during our land nav.
Yeah, we did.
This is the funniest thing ever, right? Again, it's a GPS tracker. Somebody dropped it. And for some reason, we couldn't find the tracker. And we were like, just ping it. What do you like? We had to go out there. We had to crawl through these woods, and we're sitting there, and we're all like, does this thing not track, or does it track? Like, what? They're like, oh, it's just bad cell service. I'm like, does that work when like somebody just gets lost?
Yeah.
What?
That's what it was in my mind.
Dude,
when they gave me those
crazy.
trackers, I was thinking of Sapper School. I was like, yeah, right. You guys lost a tracker in the woods and you couldn't find a tracker. Like,
It's literally
no way
where it is.
Yeah, how's that even possible?
That was funny. That was funny. Also, let me bring up a good note is for those not in the Army, aka everybody listening, if a leader or anybody in charge tells you to bring a water source like they did to Zach on that bus, it's bad news. You know you're in for it. Like, you're toast. You're just done. Pack it up. Get ready for it. And I want to bring this back to Trevor. You mentioned the winners and the losers and how you can kind of tell who's going to be a winner there. You mentioned 75th Ranger Reg is a special unit that's they're just an insane historical, and they're still top dogs in the Army. I guess they typically always win, like they're top 3 at least. There's somebody from that unit every year, and lots of speculation on that actually. some
Oh.
home field advantage, maybe? I don't know. Do you have any?
Yeah.
Do you have any insight of how they always win, or you think there's some foul play
Plot
going on, or
thickening.
what?
Well, I won't get into that, but
Oh, you
home field advantage.
he's being recorded
Technic-
by a 3-letter agency right now.
Home
Yeah.
field advantage, 100% a thing. Especially
Yeah.
the competition this year, it was almost identical to the competition last year.
Okay.
And then if you look at the 75th Ranger Regiment, it's a regiment, 3 battalions versus, say, 4 at Fort Carson.
Yeah.
Even more battalions. The pool for like soldiers to pull from the regiment is already exponentially better than it is from like a standard unit.
Yeah, for sure.
With that said, they also have a lot more funding, a lot more resources. They know what the competition is going to look like for the most part. They have like dedicated nutritionists, dedicated chiropractors. I don't know, anything you could think of. It's like a professional sports team. That plus the knowledge of what the competition is going to look like, because they have inside people. I mean, they
For
have
sure.
people at Ranger School who's planning the whole thing.
Right.
It's just there's been talk. I know people that have talked to people planning, and they're like, if you don't want regiment to win, you're gonna have to like rework the entire competition. Like if it stays similar, it's gonna be them every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
No, like
definitely some foul
They're
play there.
absolute studs.
No, yeah. Don't get me wrong. Trevor did just call them all cheaters. But they are pretty legit. They are legit. And even without home field advantage, what we're talking about, they're all stationed there. And they are the Ranger Regiment. So they definitely, whether you like it or not, they have the insider info to some extent. Even, I mean, I don't know about you guys, even having a gauge of like, hey, how long is this run going to be? Or like, what kind of event should we prepare for? Oh, you should prepare to shoot a weapon. That's a stupid example, but like shoot this type of weapon system. Then they're going to obviously train on that. So there are still studs. Don't get me wrong. Did you have any 75th guys with you, Zach, or what?
Yeah, there's 2 teams. 2 75th teams. One was from Benning, another one they were from Gordon or something. Some other smaller
Savannah,
base out
Georgia,
there.
probably.
Yeah, Savannah, Georgia. Yeah.
Okay.
They're studs. Yeah, one of the teams placed second, and that was the one master sergeant on that team. He'd placed second last year too.
Okay.
So back-to-back second place, absolute stud. And then the other team, I think, placed 5th. So
yeah,
same thing, right? Like just built different.
The only thing I'll add to that is Best Ranger competition started out as a competition strictly within Ranger Regiment. And so there's a lot of like, I don't want to say expectation, but there is. It's kind of like their thing. They take it very seriously, which is good on them.
For sure. And let's also address the unit difference, right? Like our units, you come in one day, you think you're going to accomplish some training, and then next thing you know, everybody's on a computer trying to do cyber awareness training, right? Because that's magically the priority. So that's kind of our lives, and their lives are show up. Is there something to be done? No? Okay, let's go train. And they also have a pretty, like, don't get me wrong, they work hard, but they also work smarter on top of that, because they're not there till 1700 if they don't need to be, but they're definitely staying late if they need to be. It's like one of those dynamics, and they get after a lot more. That is their job, is to be a ranger, right? So they're doing the same exact tests as a daily battle rhythm event that we in our units it's hard to accomplish. There's just so many other competing priorities. So it's definitely a big difference there. I guess let's change it to a little bit lighter tone. What was like a cool event or cool moment that came out of it? And I'll give you an example of what I'm kind of getting after here. In Sapper School, for us, there's a lake day, a day where you just go out to the lake, and it's supposed to be really crappy. But in that moment, for me, it was really cool. We ended up taking a helicopter and jumping out of the helicopter into the lake and then swimming ashore with all of our gear. And so as crappy as that was, You know, I had like one of those really cool moments of like, wow, like I'm literally jumping out of a helicopter with nothing on me into a lake. Like, did you guys have any of those moments, or just maybe even if not, because the events were that crappy? Do you have any like memories that you definitely will take on with you?
Yeah, we absolutely did. Despite the outcome, being a part of that competition was probably the coolest thing I've done in the Army. We talked to a bunch of generals, all very supportive, very cool. Saw a lot of really cool people, some Instagram influencers and stuff too.
Really?
As far as events go, yeah, I mean like Army Instagram influencers.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as events go, we got a fast rope out of a helicopter twice because we had to certify before we actually did it. I've never done that. I'm sure regiment does it all the time.
Do what?
I
Out
thought
of
it was
a
super
helicopter?
cool. Fast rope. So people, if you guys don't know what that is,
They
the
don't. I
helicopter
promise
comes
you.
up and they just drop a rope, and you're not strapped in or anything. You just grab the rope and slide down. So we did
pretty
that
sick.
once for training, and then once onto a rooftop, and then cleared some buildings. I thought that was super fun.
Let me stop you there too, because you mentioned this earlier. So when you get there early and you have that week to practice, right? Are you practicing on the exact like actual events, or do they give you just like here's training material and get after what you need to? Like, because I mean, you said you got to fast rope out of a helicopter for training to get certified, so you had to have known that that's part of the competition. Like, how much is unknown and how much is known for you at that time? Like through that first week prior.
Yeah, so you do know a lot of the competition going into competitors week. But you don't know the specifics, if that makes sense. So you don't know what the range is going to look like. You know what weapon you might be shooting, but you don't know like where the targets are going to be or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah. There were 3 mystery events. I think one was like a strong man where you throw the sandbag over something. That was a mystery event. Another one was a primitive fire. So you had to start a fire out of like nothing. Yeah, super random.
Ooh,
And
that's
there was
cool.
another
That's
one, but
cool.
I can't remember. Yeah. So yeah, you do know a lot of it going into it, and then the training beforehand, it's very dedicated. Like they give you every opportunity to mess with the weapon. You do get to shoot them, but you only get like 5 rounds, so it's more just like familiarization.
Yeah.
And then there are a few things where they have to certify that you can do it, like the fast rope, before you go and do it, just because 1 for safety, and then 2 they want to make sure you look good doing it. So there's a bunch of media.
You don't want to
there.
look like an idiot falling down the rope and then just landing on your
exactly.
back and being like, "Oh, I broke my back."
Like
This is the
black down. Yeah.
This is the Army's best. Some dude falls off the fast rope.
Yeah, it's like that. There's an Instagram photo of, oh my god, I'm gonna butcher this so bad, but I want to say the Navy. Some like big top dog came down and he like took a picture looking down the rifle. The
I
scope
saw
was backwards.
Yeah, I did see that.
It was it was so funny, and they posted it everywhere. Like, look at this cool photo. This guy's getting on the ground, like high level leaders looking down a rifle. Like, dude, the scope is backwards, you idiot. I think the
they got
Marines
clowned for that.
Yeah, the Marines posted like a blank Instagram picture after with like one of their guys and just like having like the exact same pose, like just essentially just subtweeting them, just being like, yeah, at least we know how to look down a scope. But anyways, back to the topic there. Zach, what biggest like coolest moment or cool event, like what are you taking back from this competition?
Yeah, pretty cool was that first fitness event that I mentioned. We took a Black Hawk from the base into the park off post. So picture just like, normal community park. And we took a Black Hawk, landed in the park, ran out of the Black Hawk, and then that's when we started the physical fitness event. So
That's
it's just
pretty
kinda,
badass.
like, cool. Yeah, cool to be like circling up there at a Black Hawk, and he took some like hard banking turns. So you're kind of like, oh, in the bird. So just cool to
That's
do
pretty
that. You don't
sick.
get to do that much in the heavy unit that we're in Fort Carson. And then with that too, just like a lot of rappelling. Like this year's focus, I think, was really on rappelling. So we rappelled off like 2 probably 50-foot cliffs, which is just always fun. But yeah, I think a lot of the cool stuff happened Sunday too. But obviously, I was sleeping. So
You're sleeping. Did you get to stay until
same.
the end?
we had to stay. Yeah, we had to stay till the end, but we could we went to our coach's room and slept on his hotel bed. So yeah,
That's
we were tired.
hilarious. All right. So I will say, haven't been a part of it because Zach didn't ask me to be his partner this year.
Yeah, we'll say
he's
that's
regretting
the
it.
reason why. Yeah.
I'm totally didn't move across the state and move from a different country, continent, etc. But next year we'll get after it. I guess where do you guys go from here? Are you guys planning to compete again, or is this like I'm glad I got to experience it? On to the next thing. Like, what's next for you guys?
Yeah, funny you mention it. Once we finish Best Ranger, everybody on the team is kind of like, what do we do now? Because like,
Yeah,
you dedicate, you know, for us it was over 4 months of our lives just to this competition, and then just go back to your normal unit and go back to work and all. Just it was weird. I don't know. For me, I'm on PCS leave right now, so I'm moving to Fort Benning, now Fort Moore, Georgia, and I move next week, and then going to a selection coming up, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, just kind of waiting to get to my next unit right now. So,
do you have a
still trying
date
to
for
stay in shape.
selection?
End of October.
Okay, so you got a hard date already,
Yeah, I got a
and
while. Yeah.
what's
So-
your approach there? You gonna? I guess this is a great question. So you're going to selection for Special Forces in October. Do you think you're going to take the same approach you took for training for the Best Ranger competition, or are you going to like what have you learned that you're going to take into this upcoming one, or you feel like you felt good training and it just missed the mark on that day?
Yeah, the training for Best Ranger and the training for any selection pretty similar. Yeah, a lot of time under load or like on a ruck, under a ruck. I definitely learned a lot. Like I learned my strengths and my weaknesses. So rucking is absolutely my weakness. I definitely need to work on that more. But gonna take a similar approach for sure. Kind of taking a step back and trying to put on some more weight because I lost a lot of weight and some more strength. But I'll start, and I still have that zone 2 base, which is helpful. Like I can still go run 12 miles and it's fine.
And be fine.
But yeah, so we'll start ramping up the mileage again, but same thing pretty much. So
I don't understand how that's your weakness, rucking. So I have a buddy who was a stud at running and an absolute twig. You know, I would be afraid when he puts on a ruck because he would just buckle. That dude ran a marathon the day before our 12 mile and then finished the 12-mile ruck in under 2 hours. So like my perception out of that was okay, I just need to be good at running to be good at rucking. But like, do you think that's different when you're training for these, like this high level of event? Because I mean, our 12-mile was 35 pounds dry. So I mean, it ends up being 45 or whatever. And you're talking like 70, 80. Do you think that like eventually peaks out to where the weight really, really does impact your ability to like lock in for those longer distance at faster paces?
Yeah. So I don't know. Running does translate to rucking. I say rucking's my weakness. I would still say I'm a very above average rucker, but like my running compared to somebody else's running and my rucking compared to theirs, I'm slower than them.
So for the viewers that didn't pick that up, he's just saying he's an absolute stud, and he's just saying that his weakness is still top tier above everybody else. There's the translation for you.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, that is fair though. I get what you're saying though. Like of all your areas that you need to focus on, that's definitely something that you can improve on, I guess. What do you do for that? So like when we trained up for Best Sapper, I just remember, I mean, rucking's horrible for you, right? We got a little viewer. What's good?
We got a little dog.
Hey, is this the dog? Is this the dog?
That is the dog, the Nova dog.
Do we do the story time of this dog? Do we take a pause and do this story time? Okay, we'll save it. Everybody that just saw that dog, it's on my crap list, and that's a pun intended. Here in a minute, that's where we'll close out. But hold on. What do you do for trying to get better at rucking? Like, did you increase weight
Yes.
and then decrease mileage, or was it just increase weight, same mileage?
So it kind of depends on the event you're training for. Weird answer. For something like selection or best ranger, you definitely want to up the weight because you know you're gonna have a heavy ruck. And maybe like a little bit less mileage. If you're training for just like a 12 mile, 35 pounds dry, keep that and then just up the distance and speed a little bit if you can. I would say the biggest thing, like you said, rucking is not good for you.
Yeah, it's terrible.
In training, they were like, do not ruck run at all. So usually when you're doing a ruck, you like a 12 mile, you run, walk as much as you can. In training, don't want to run. You want to just walk everything. So we got our walking pace down to like a 13-minute mile, which is pretty good.
Still, for walking.
Yeah. So when you get to that, the whatever test you're doing, when you walk, it's not like it is a break, yes, but you're still walking. Like you're not losing time on it, basically.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Just depends on what you're training for, but slowly increase distance and/or weight. Depends on what the event is I'm training for.
Yeah.
So,
all right, Zach, let's move on to you with what's next. What's good? You competing next year, or you throwing in the towel because you're a quitter and you like to quit?
I was just trying to figure out when did you go and we talk so much on this podcast about you never meet a hater that's doing more than you. So I was just curious.
No, I'm not hating. I was just calling it what it is. That's fact. And I'm just saying they denied my packet. I actually put in a packet to compete solo dolo. And they were like, hey, we really don't need you to come in and win this competition by yourself. It would be a really bad look for everybody else. And I said, hey, makes sense. Maybe next year.
They really wanted the two captains from Campbell to win again, and if you were in the mix, it's just not going to be fair. And it's just not going to happen.
I would have been. There would have been some crimes committed against me. My kneecaps would have been broken before the event started because, somebody would have came in and just took out the competition.
Yeah,
that's what I would
do.
I mean, I get it. I'm well known. I'm well known in the Sapper community, so I get it. They don't want me. It's fine. It's fine. Next year I'll try again. But anyways, what's actually next for you?
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence right now. Being there, obviously we had to stay till the end. So I saw it, all my buddies and the other competitors come through the castle at the end. And just kind of standing there knowing we got dropped, just like, it stung a little bit. But also it kind of like starts to fire in you. But then at the same time, I'm probably looking at other plans besides army related things in my future. So, and that would be right around next year when the competition would be. So I'd like to do it again if timing works out. But I don't feel like I have to, or else I would never feel like successful. You know what I mean? I feel like just getting out there and competing. I feel like I've done what I wanted to do. Yeah. Obviously, I wish I would have done better, but I don't feel any like regrets, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you can never beat yourself up for working hard, whether the outcome was what you want or not. Like, I've always said that there's a million things that I've put hours and hours into and still fail. And it's really easy to get caught up in the result. And you should hold on to that result, but not as like a negative thing, and more look at like, hey, I worked hard for this and I can't beat myself up ever in life. And I can't knock myself for something that I tried to do.
Right.
And that's a good point. You bring up the timelines, right? So like you're talking about maybe getting out, and around that time is that cutoff, right? So I think people don't really understand a lot of your army career is like based on timelines. It's wild because I mean, Trevor, you're talking about going to selection, right? Like you get picked up. How does Triple C fall into that? So when you pick up captain, which for all of us is going to be next year, you have to go to this course. And a lot of things like there's a couple peg points throughout your army career where it's you will be doing this, like you will be doing that. And all these people that are out doing great things, they're probably great people, don't get me wrong, but a lot of them have that window of opportunity that just works out. They didn't have any injuries. They were perfectly prepped, blah, blah, blah. But like Korea rotation comes in or deployment comes in and you really don't have a say in that. So like, where does that timeline fit for special forces if you get picked up?
Yeah, so I'll talk to kind of just timeline in general, like you said. For Best Ranger, it just happened to line up perfectly for me.
Yeah.
Kind of in a transition period, I was able to delay my orders going to my next duty station. That was a huge thing. So it just worked out well for me. It's not like that for everybody.
Yeah.
Honestly, like most lieutenants, or they're kind of like not burning bridges, but it's a big ask to do that competition.
Oh, for sure.
As far as selection goes, it's a little different. If you do get picked up, you go to SOF Triple C, which is Special Operation Forces Triple C.
Yeah.
And like as soon as you put in your packet and it gets accepted, your MOS control branch is Special Forces.
Changes.
And so
right.
they can kind of dictate. And then if you make it to selection, like that's it. You fall under them. It's like you wouldn't even go to a regular Triple C.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It makes sense.
So,
yeah. So that's, I guess, one a rare opportunity. Obviously, you get picked up for special forces, and they kind of take over start to finish, regardless of what your career is. So, hey, do you guys have anything else for the viewers that you would like to add that we kind of didn't really touch on before we close out with the story time? Are we moving on?
I'm good over here.
The only thing I'll say, going back to the very beginning, you asked why we sucked, as we did. My partner obviously had his injury, but there were a lot of other small stuff. For example, on one of the ranges, there was a hostage target. So you have like the target and then the other target like that.
Oh, this is
the
good.
hostage, and you shoot the bad guy.
So you committed a war crime. Is that what happened?
What did you do? Trevor, what did you do?
My partner walked up, barely nicked the hostage. Good to go. I walk up, shoot the hostage twice. Completely missed the kid target. So like I absolutely just killed the hostage.
Hey, I'm
Definitely
glad you're on our team, buddy.
You know,
really glad for that. If you pull up,
it's just the pressure with all the cameras. You know.
No, it is, dude. It is. There's a stress shoot, right? Did you guys do a stress shoot?
Honestly, no. There weren't any like
okay. Well, in
shoots.
the Army, there exists a thing called stress shoots, and you shoot with like people yelling at you and like stressors going on, right? It's like people freaking out, playing music, whatever it is. And oh my God, the scores between you sitting down perfectly unbothered to people like stressing you out. I mean, it makes a big difference, dude. I feel you on that for sure. Cause that's tough. So you shot a hostage twice.
I mean,
right in the face or what?
You think they're living? Yeah, it was just a little nick, but
just a little labrum tear.
It's a quick way to go. I mean,
just sew it up real quick.
Did you at least hit the bad guy? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I hit the hostage and I was like, "Whoa, hold on, let me reset here." And then shot the bad guy. So we're good. He's dead.
So he's still dead. Got it. After you killed the hostage. Got it.
Yeah. So
that's fair. Hey, let's close up with a nice story time. So that little work of a dog, the sad excuse of a dog. Is he in there still? What's going on? Is he in there?
It is over. No. Sheen.
Whatever. Anyways, we go up to Breckenridge, right? We went to Breckenridge.
Yeah, it was Breckenridge.
And we get this Airbnb. Again, obviously we didn't get it until we started driving. So we booked this Airbnb on our way up. Turns out to be a pretty dope place. They got a hot tub, etc. We're ready to enjoy our weekend. Our buddy that Trevor lives with, Nate, owns that dog. And that dog, great dog, honestly. I'm making this pretty bad.
Dog, actually. Yeah.
Has a bad weekend, right? And I wake up, we all go out the night before, did our thing, and I wake up pretty hungover. I'm trying to go to the bathroom directly across the hall from my bedroom, and I open the door, and again, I'm like barely eyes open. I'm like, I just need to pee. I come this close to stepping in projectile diarrhea. And it's not just right out front my door. This thing must have been on a rocket running around the entire Airbnb, shotgun blasting diarrhea all over this Airbnb. And so I, as a good friend, did not clean up. I took pee and went back to sleep. But the next, like when I did wake up, actually, it was like kind of unknown for a little bit because you guys were upstairs, right? And then we came down. I was like, yo, you got to see this, man, because it was mainly by the front door. I mean, we're talking, it was on the walls, it was everywhere. And
It looked like somebody picked up a skunk and grabbed it by its tail and just like sprayed it.
Like,
It was wild. I've never seen anything
shotgun
like it.
blasting everywhere.
On the walls, on the doors, yeah.
Oh my god, I was so mad. I was so mad. And poor little dog, he was just in an unfamiliar environment. It wasn't his fault. It was probably our fault.
Who booked the Airbnb?
Actually, I think it was
can't
Trevor,
remember.
low key.
Oh man,
It might have been. But there were no dogs allowed too. So,
Yeah,
I don't
that
know.
was the other caveat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we went out that day to go skiing or something, and he had to stay back and clean up or something. I felt bad.
Yeah, he spent a good like 2 hours cleaning that up because by the time we woke up, it was like dried and crusted and just, just
so
awful.
gross.
oh man,
So
that's
bad.
graphic.
Wait, Zach, were you not there?
No, I
No,
was
he wasn't
like,
there that weekend.
yeah, I don't think I was there.
What?
I forget where I was.
Oh my god. Yeah, that was.
But
wait,
to be
was that
honest
during
with
the-
you,
Yeah.
I'm not really that bummed that I missed that experience. So
Oh yeah, dude. I got to the point where I had to just leave because the smell was so putrid. It was disgusting. It
That's
wasn't just like
awful.
a poo in the corner or anything. Like I said, that thing was stanking up the place, and it was bad. But yeah, good times. Good to have you guys. Appreciate you guys coming out. Trevor, appreciate it. I also heard Trevor was gonna go get the better of the two tabs. I heard he's gonna try to get to Sapper, but he doesn't know if he's that top tier, that elite yet.
he just doesn't think he
but-
can make it. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it
it's
makes
a little
sense.
too hard for me. I don't know.
You got math in there. You got to calculate explosives, and
See,
it's actually funny. Some of the Ranger guys are like, "I'd rather be in Ranger school than here," and you're like, "Dude, what? They're just doing math, man. I don't know. I feel like I think you might just be bad at algebra."
Yeah, and dramatic.
But yeah, so anyways, great to have you guys. Good episode. Coming in around 58 minutes. And yeah, you guys got any closing comments? Appreciate the viewers.
Yeah, no, always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
As
we're gonna have you on here
Zach-
more.
Yeah, we should. We can add this trifold. I like this layout actually.
Yeah.
But like Zach said in the beginning, shout out to the moms. You guys do amazing things, and sayonara, guys.
Happy Mother's Day.